Hello and welcome to Author Nation. Today we are diving into group programs where we'll explore the benefits, the challenges, the essentials of group programs for authors. I'm your host, Melody Ann, and I'm here to guide you through actionable insights because we don't just want to listen to this, we want to be able to go out afterwards and build that momentum that will really bring us the success we want as authors. Because at Author Nation, we are committed to your success. So if you want, pop over to authornation.online and find a treasure trove of resources for wherever you happen to be right now. So whether you're sipping your morning coffee or winding down after a long day, settle in as we explore how group programs can transform your readers' experience. So it's not just for your readers, it's not just for you, but there's this beautiful, both of you are transformed by this experience. So before we dive in, let me introduce my guest. Kerry Dobson is the group program architect. She helps authors plan and lead signature group programs that deliver real impact for the participants and impact for the author. A true win-win experience. Kerry is passionate about groups and has created and led over 100 group programs and helped more than 200 people lead their own groups, many of them authors and soon to be authors. What she's learned from her experience and her graduate degree is the true power of groups. When created and led well, groups ignite passion, create long-lasting and meaningful connections, and through the support and accountability, results are almost guaranteed. Let's welcome Kerry. Hello, Kerry. How are you today?
I'm excited to be here, Melody. Thank you so much. I love your focus on action, and it speaks so much to what we love to see in groups. So I think this is going to be a great conversation.
Wonderful. Yes. And you've led hundreds of groups. So
Yeah.
how did you get into this? What inspired you to first focus on helping authors specifically transform their work into group programs?
Well, so I had a whole corporate career in learning and development. So much of that work was in groups for different organizations across, the world, really. And I eventually went into my own business and I started with coaches. That was kind of the first group that I started working with. And about a year in, I kind of did an evaluation of who are all the people I had worked with and who are the clients that I enjoyed the most, who got the most out of it. And what I discovered was that was authors, right? So I hadn't intentionally said I'm going to work with authors, but the reason authors are such a great fit for this is because they've already done the hard work and sat down and said, what do I have to say? What is most important? And that is the hardest step. It really is. And so what I found was authors were just so well prepared to start considering a group program and how can they help their audience or their readers take their wisdom and actually do something with it.
Brilliant. I love that. And so just for authors who are sitting there thinking, but I'm not a coach and group programs mean coaching or whatever other myths that are happening out there, could you explain what is a group program and what makes it such a powerful tool for nonfiction authors?
Absolutely. So group, I think, gets thrown around quite a bit. So my definition of a group is you're bringing a number of people together live, in person, or online, and you're saying we're going to spend X amount of time together. So there's a start date and an end date, and here's our program promise. This is what I promise you will accomplish or experience. And really what it is imagine having the opportunity to talk to your readers and find out what are they struggling with? What successes are they having? All that information that you couldn't include in the book. Suddenly you have these people who are asking for really specific support in what they're dealing with. And now you're able to kind of share that wisdom in a different way. So groups are really that opportunity to say, okay, you're inspired or interested based on my book. Now let's really do the work of putting it into practice.
Yeah. And that leads me to another question. And I hear this a lot from authors. In fact, I just spoke to an author who said this to me. But why would they go to a group program? Everything's in the book.
So I don't know about you, Melody, but when was the last time you read a book that had such a great idea and you thought, I need to do that. And you actually did it. Right? Like there's a difference between being inspired or encouraged by wisdom or information in a book and actually doing something with it. Our brains are literally wired to have us repeat the same day that we had yesterday. So unless we have some kind of very conscious support in saying, I'm going to do something different, those great ideas never get put out into the world.
Yeah. And I think that really covers what the benefits are for the participant in having a group. What are the main benefits for the authors who turn their nonfiction book into a group program?
So the first kind of benefit that I see is it's an additional revenue stream. So many times, we think, oh, the book is going to be our revenue stream. And the reality is for most authors, that's just not the case, right? It's not where they're going to make their money. But they have this opportunity to say, what else can I do with my readers? And their choices are they can be speakers and be on stages and, get invited to conferences and into organizations. They can create an online course where they're trying to enroll people into those online courses. They can have a membership or a community where people can join on and kind of come and go as they want support. And one of the other options is the group program. So the beauty of the group program is there's an impact that you have in the group program that I don't know that you get in the same way with those other options, because I always say it's down and dirty. Like you are there with them as they're trying your resources, as they're going out into their world and saying, I'm going to do something different. And so the impact you have, it's that real ripple impact that you thought you were going to have when you wrote the book. And then the last benefit that I think is really important is you have a longer term and a deeper relationship with your readers because you've worked so closely with them. So they're the ones that are going to read your next book. They're the ones that are going to do your next group program. They're the ones that are going to say, yes, what's next?
Yeah, I love that. That makes perfect sense. So group programs benefit both the reader, participant, and the author. And would you say facilitator? Is that the word you would use?
Yeah, so I typically will say guide because
Guide.
there's this belief, and I think it has to do with kind of how most of us went to school, where it's like you have to be at the front of the room telling people everything. And the reality is with group programs, yes, you want to share some of the information, but more importantly, you just want to support them as they're trying to take your information and implement it. So you're guiding them, you're encouraging them, and you're creating it in this group space. So not all the pressure is on you. It's about creating the space for others to connect and support based on the information you're sharing with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now I know people are out there listening and thinking, but would my book really make a group program? Is it even suitable? So how do we answer that question?
So the first thing, do you want a group? I think there's so much pressure out there right now that everybody has to have a group. Everybody has to be a speaker. Everybody has to have a community. And so number one is, do you have an inkling or an interest in having your own group? If the answer is yes, or it's that, I think so, but I'm scared, then it's probably something you can do. The only kind of books that I find are really challenging to create into a great group is really a purely memoir book, right? Like that is very difficult because it's kind of like you can have beautiful conversations with people about your memoir and your story, but helping them to do something from it can be challenging. But if you have anything in your book that is about them taking action and resources that they can use and encouraging them to see things differently, you can create a group program around that.
Yeah, perfect. So if you're out there thinking, oh, wait, I have a nonfiction book and it's not a memoir, or it's a memoir slash self help, and you're thinking, oh, wait, I can make a good group program and I want one, it's not about the pressure, but and I want one, then you want to get in touch with Kerry, and you can find her at jjdack.com. And so if you want an impactful group program, go there and get started right now. All right. So what are some of the common challenges? Now people are all excited. Sorry, we're going to bring you down. What are some of the common challenges or mistakes that authors face when they try to launch a group?
Yeah. So first and foremost is way too much content. So you think, oh, I have this whole book. I'm going to put the whole book there. What I joke with my clients is like, you had all this wisdom and then you wrote a book. So you squished it down and now you're going to have a group. So you're going to squish it down even more because you're going to really pull out the key messages, the key resources, the key frameworks. So first challenge is cutting out content that you think is so valuable, and it is valuable. It's just about when they need it. The second one is that you make it all about you, or you put all the pressure on yourself. So you think you have to do all the talking, you have to do all the controlling. And a great group is really about you kind of creating the boundaries of the container and allowing people to connect. And then the other thing I would say is a challenge is that sometimes people are creating the group in a silo or kind of away from their audience, and they try to put it all together and then start talking about it and getting out there. I want you to talk about your group as soon as you're thinking about having one. I want you to talk to your readers, the clients or the readers that you love that are like just so supportive of you. As soon as you're thinking about a group, start having conversations with them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm always saying to people who want to write a book, it's, well, who are your readers? And have you spoken to them? And what are their default desires? What are their fears? All of that stuff. So that makes sense. So, what's the best way for authors to gauge interest and gather valuable feedback?
So the first thing that I always encourage you to do is have a general idea of what I call the program promise. So that's what you promise they will accomplish or experience in your group program. So what are you going to help them to do? And then you want to talk to the people who have already been supportive of your book. So those are your early readers. Those are the people who have already created a review or have signed up that they're going to do a review. And it's also the people that if they were in your group, you would just feel so excited about. We all have those people that it's like, could you believe it if, right? So what you want to do is you want to have a conversation with them. So you want to reach out to them if you have by DM on social media or if you have their email, whatever it is, and you just say, I have this idea and I would love your opinion on it. And it's not a big, long conversation. You're just getting kind of their initial reaction to this is what I'm doing. So I first kind of share that program promise. And then I would say, what is it that you absolutely would need to have happen in this group for it to be of interest to you? Like, what would you need to experience or accomplish to make it super enticing to you? And those are just the two questions. And you want to have, where possible, have the conversation because they'll give you information. And the other thing that's beautiful about that is almost all the people you have that conversation with, most of them will say, when you do it, please tell me about it. They're going to be the people who are going to sign up for it before it even goes public.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg, I guess, question. So you want to go out and talk to people. How do you also want to go to your book and identify key messages or themes? Because as you said, you have all this content and you just can't put all of it into a program. So how do you kind of go through the book to find those key messages or those themes? And do you do it before or after you talk to readers?
So there's no right or wrong answer to that. You can do it before or after. It doesn't matter. It's just a different conversation if you have. What I will say is that the things that you want to pay attention to in your book are what are the things that people always talk about when it comes to your book, like those ideas or those concepts, the things that they just keep kind of talking about in the reviews, or they're like, I can't believe that one, whatever resource it was. They'll tell you in their reviews and their conversations with you what really had the impact. So pay attention to what people tell you anyway. And then the other thing is knowing what you know, what must someone know or do in order to be successful in what you're encouraging them to do through your book. You already know, right? All the extras are there because you're trying to be really supportive, but you know this is a must have. If it's a must have, you want to include it in the group.
Yeah. And you know, I'm just going to say when you get to your must-haves, if you start listing and you're down to 20, bring it back up to 5, right? Slow down there because I know that, helping people write books, they tend to, it's like, what do you want in your book? And they give me enough content for 5 books, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, slow down. What are those top 5 things that this book, if you could only say 5 things, what would they be? Is that a good number for you as well? Like, what are those 5 key messages?
Yeah, I'd say between 3 and 5, because what happens in a group is it's not just about sharing the information, it's then about them implementing it. So you're helping them to come up with what's their action plan, how can they do this? Then you're going to want to have some support, like how did it go? What obstacles did you run into? So the more key messages you have, the more time you need with them, and then the longer and longer your program becomes.
Brilliant. All right. So everyone is sitting there. They've been listening to this. They're excited about it. They want to do something and they're like, where do I start? So if somebody's there going, what do I do next? What are the top 3 things they can do right now just to start building momentum, taking action so that they can move forward and actually, do this successfully?
So the first one is know your own why. So what is it that's so appealing about it? Again, is it this pressure you feel you should have a group, or is something in this conversation just getting you excited, right? So typically it's what is your why and how does that make it so that a group program is kind of that obvious next step. The other thing is talk to people. So those ideal people that you would love to have in your group, have some conversations with them. And the other one is find that 3 to 5 key messages from your book that you would create your group program around.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, something else I know is that you're a podcaster. And so I want to ask you about one of your podcasts. And I'm assuming you have a podcast about group programs. And so if people are out there and they're listening and they're like, yeah, this is really exciting and I want to learn more, can you tell us the name of your podcast, when it drops, and just give us a 1 minute summary on what people might expect when listening to your podcast?
Perfect. There's actually 2 podcasts that I'll talk about here. So one is I have a public podcast series called the Book Desserts podcast series. It's a 12-episode series specifically for authors where I talk to experts in kind of author world. I talk to authors who have actually created group programs, and I take books that are on the market already and say, if I was working with this author, here's what I would think about. So that's a whole series that's available publicly. But the private podcast I have, which launches, I do an episode every second Sunday, is the Great Group Revolution. It's a private podcast where in every episode we talk about a tool or a tactic or a perspective on great groups. And you're always invited to take an action for each episode for your own great group.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And we will drop the links to those in the show notes so that you can find them and go listen to them. I love that. Say the title of the first one again.
Book Desserts podcast series. So it's the sweet side of author-led groups.
I love that title, right? Desserts. It sounds like so much fun. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, thank you so much, Kerry. Thank you for sharing your insights into group programs and helping us kind of get excited about creating them and giving us some really clear, actionable ideas. It's clear that turning a nonfiction book into a group program can actually be a really transformative experience for both authors and participants. Do you have any final words for us before we close up?
I just want to encourage anybody that has that inkling for a group around their book to do it. Just do it. Let's get those groups out there. People want your wisdom, they want your support, and they want to make changes.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for joining Author Nation interviews today. We hope this conversation has provided you with valuable and actionable insights, plus the inspiration you need to get excited to actually go out and do those things. Remember to visit us at authornation.online for your treasure troves of resources. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I have a cold. I feel like I'm not actually saying my words properly today, so forgive me for that. We greatly appreciate your feedback and your support. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, give us a like, and don't forget to share this with someone who could benefit from it. We are authors and we all need to work together for everyone's success. Your participation helps us continue to deliver the insights and the tools you need to succeed. So keep writing, keep creating, and keep sharing your unique stories with the world.